His speech was an all-out call for nationalism, for American sovereignty.
But it was also unity, like, hey, we're going to back off churches. You have free speech. We're not going to harass the gays anymore. And it was also fair. It had everybody coming together. Talk about a unifier. My God, this guy's awesome.
Well, actually, and it's interesting, that line where he said that he would protect the LGBTQ community, he then ad-libs a line that's not in the prepared text, in which he said, as a Republican, I'm very happy that got all those applause, in essence.
He said, thank you. He said, thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, Trump is the more tolerant candidate. Hillary will not protect gay people, Hispanics, Asians, African Americans, all Americans from Islamic terrorism. She doesn't even admit that it exists. You and I both know they're burning churches in Egypt. They're burning Christians across the region. But, you know, we're more interested in covering...
Since you raised this, I had to pinch myself. They've banned the white and the red, white, and blue at the Democratic event in the sections because white is evil. And now all over the news, including Reuters, they will not, and AP, you name it, they will not say the name Ali. BBC scrubs Ali from Munich killer's name as he screamed Allah Akbar, and as ISIS takes responsibility. We've reached a new level where the BBC won't even say terrorism now. What is this, Stone? I mean, this is crazy.
Well, it's censorship. You've been talking about about this for some time. The leftists and the establishment are hysterical about the rise of Trump, and therefore we're now going to resort to censorship or smears. I have to mention the entire sequence of events with the Young Turks. I mean, the Young Turks, particularly this fat Turk Sinkhole or whatever his name is. Let's be very clear. We did not crash their show. I would never do that.
By the way, stay right there because I need to be able to roll the video of this and stuff, and I want to be able to walk through this for our listeners who are like, what are we talking about? Why don't you set the table?
Yeah, this is very simple. We were in the media center. You and I were doing several radio interviews together. We had a great interview with Jonathan Alter, who is a former Time reporter, now on Sirius, who's a real establishment figure, a liberal, very good guy, smart guy, just incorrect on a lot of things, but fair. We had a spirited debate.
And we had people, hundreds of booths, begging us to be in their deals.
But nobody was spitting on anybody. Then we're walking down the hallway, and I hear a producer for the Young Turks ask you to come on the set, a show you've been a guest on a number of times. It would be good TV. You go up on the set. I'm kind of holding back, kind of just off camera, because I'm sensing maybe this is a setup. And suddenly this fat Turk goes absolutely insane. Now, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but this was a setup. They grab your microphone, then they demand that you leave.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me leave. I said, well, let me have it and I'll leave. Then they start saying, we're going to hurt you and spitting on me. And then I went, whoa. Yeah, and by then they said, Stone, get off our stage. You're like 20 feet away going, what?
Yeah, I wasn't on their stage. But the best part is the guy.
Well, by stage, it's a freaking hangar. You know, a huge building just everywhere, sets everywhere. And you're like, what?
Yeah, the best part is Sank keeps yelling, you're a liar, Stone, you're a liar. Everything you've written is a lie. Everything you say is a lie. I say, what have I lied about? He says, Eliot Spitzer. Does he not read the news? What part is wrong? That Spitzer liked hookers or that he liked to choke hookers? Only a month ago, the New York Post and the Daily News reported that a woman in a New York hotel called the police because she said Eliot Spitzer tried to choke her.
By the way, he's been convicted of all this hooker stuff. It's in the newspaper what you said. He says that's why you're discredited. It's like Roger Stone said that Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. Well, he's discredited.
Technically, he hasn't been convicted. That's exactly the point. He was never...
No, I meant from the earlier hooker. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Thank you so much for joining us on stations across the country. We were getting into what happened at the RNC. I would have, at speeches I was giving, the thousands of people, I would have comedians from Adult Swim charge the stage and start fights. I just bring them up. I would have, Ann Coulter jump in on a show I was on. Didn't matter. And I'm like, hey, come on the show as I'm walking down through Media Row, a huge building next to the RNC event. Just full of, I'm talking 300, 400 TV radio stations. More shows you could do all day. You could kill yourself in there. And I'm wandering by and some producer waves us over. I got to do some other interviews. So I do them. I come back by and they're doing the show. I see they're on break. They're not talking. I'm a media guy. I see people sitting there not talking. I go, hey, what's going on, guys? Hey. And then they act kind of friendly. And as soon as they go live, the person, I believe, because they'll look the same, it's all like the trendy guys that run it, same suits, same hairstyle, everything, goes, Alex Jones is taking over, Alex Jones, and all of a sudden, I'm going to beat you up, and start spitting in my face and attacking me. And they start going, Roger Stone, you're not taking over. And Roger Stone's like 20 feet away, and Roger Stone goes, what are you talking about? So again, it's not about the young turds or the young Triggly Puffs or any of this. It's about their disinformation, how they were on the Google YouTube stage that admits they work with the White House, and how as soon as our live videos went up, they took them down in real time. As soon as we made a big deal about it, they put them back up. But I want to digress into if they steal the election. We've seen them steal it from Bernie Sanders. Will there be a big revolt against that? And so much more. But putting bookends on this, while you talk about it, we're going to roll some footage for TV viewers watching at Infowars.com/show of what actually happened. Roger Stone.
Yeah, look, I don't want to belabor this, but to be very clear, it's not that Eliot Spitzer was ever convicted. In fact, that's precisely the problem. He violated the Mann Act, taking a prostitute across 8 state lines. Some liberals say, well, the Mann Act is never enforced. Actually, a New York State Supreme Court justice was convicted to 15 years in jail for violating the Mann Act the exact same year that Spitzer did, only months before. He isn't convicted because he was wealthy and connected. If he were black and poor, he'd be in jail right now. As far as his both patronizing and choking hookers, 1 month ago, a prostitute called the police from a New York hotel and said that Eliot Spitzer had tried to choke her. The police showed up. He had already fled the scene of the crime. She had marks on her neck. They went looking for him. Then subsequently, she fled the country that very night back to Russia. Nobody to question, no crime. And last week it was announced that Spitzer is suing her, presumably to get the payoff back. So I don't know what Cenk is talking about. This guy is a criminal. He's just not convicted, but he's violated the law. Of all things to yell at, he didn't tell me I was lying about LBJ, which of course I'm not, or about Donald Trump. So look, the guy doesn't know anything. I've watched him on TV. He's inarticulate. It's all rote name calling. You see, this is the classic tactic of the left. Stone, you're a liar. You're a liar. They don't want to refute the facts because the liberals can't. Okay,
well, I'm just going from memory. I don't pay attention to a lot of New York politics, but listen.
I had to fix it because you know how this is. The penny wastes at Media Matters for America would get their panties in a twist about, these arcane subjects. So it was very
sure, but I'm just going from memory, Roger. Didn't he? I know he wasn't convicted for this, but didn't he get in trouble for this stuff before?
He resigned for governor over it. So that's exactly the point. He should have been prosecuted, but he wasn't because he's wired. The madams who provided hookers for him, they went to jail. So anyway.
Well, my big problem with him is, didn't he put a law in place to take the cars of Johns while he was seeing hookers every day?
Exactly. So the real issue
But listen, this is all a distraction. Why did he say you were on his stage, most of it's radio, stop taking over, you're 20 feet away in a hallway, and then, there's so much bigger fish to fry, but it's just crazy.
Well, the bigger news, of course, is the self-immolation of Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has a golden opportunity, and he muffs it. 1964, Barry Goldwater was the nominee. Nelson Rockefeller took a powder, wouldn't endorse him. George Romney, Mitt's father, takes a powder, wouldn't endorse him. Governor William Scranton of Pennsylvania, he splits too, he won't endorse him. Richard Nixon sees only opportunity. He not only endorses Goldwater, he introduces him to the convention for his acceptance speech, and then he hits the road and campaigns for the Goldwater-Miller ticket in 38 states, more than Barry himself. 4 years later, when Goldwater lost, and I don't expect Trump to lose, but to follow out the analogy, Nelson Rockefeller is persona non grata. Barry Goldwater, Bill Buckley, John Tower, Carl Curtis, the giants of the conservative movement, they're not for Ronald Reagan in 1968. They're for Richard Nixon because He was a party loyalist in the party's greatest battle. Ted Cruz could have been a hero here. Instead, he is so self-absorbed. He is so obtuse about how he looks. He stabbed Donald Trump right in the back. It was one of the most duplicitous things I've ever seen in American politics. Let me be clear. The Hill reported on this. He's going to have a primary in Texas. We're going to find a candidate who is a true constitutionalist and not an egomaniac globalist who's taking $1 million plus illegal loans from Citibank and Goldman Sachs.
Speaking of that, I want to come back and talk about what happens if they try to steal the election from Trump. You have a plan to counter it. But here's one of the senior congressmen from Texas, Congressman Carter, who I talked to at the airport flying out Friday. This is his views on Cruz not being a Texan. He should go back to Canada. Well, we were sitting here about to board our flight, and it's Congressman Carter from the great state of Texas. Sir, you are actually a real card-carrying Texan, meaning you were actually from there. What is your view overall of what Ted Cruz did?
Oh, well, first and foremost, he calls himself a Texan. He doesn't keep his word. That's intolerable. Texans keep their word even if they're hurt, even if it hurts them, because that's who we are. It breaks my heart that he's a Texas senator and didn't keep his word.
I heard it from a little bird that when he didn't keep his word, you had something to say.
I kind of went ballistic, but I've calmed down now.
So should Ted Cruz maybe just go be a congressman in Ottawa?
Well, he's acting more like a Canadian than a Texan.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one. Do you have any comments? All right, folks. That's Infowars.com on the job. Infowars.com. By the way, you can read it in Politico. You can read it in The Hill. Myself and Roger Stone, with a little Trump juice, we're coming after that fake Texan, okay? All hat, no cattle. And it's not about a vendetta against Cruz, but he and Beck are just such slimebags. Beck now goes on ABC News, CBS News, you name it, and says vote for Hillary. I mean, how in the hell could anybody put up with this?
Yeah, look, Glenn Beck is unfortunately irrelevant. A more important point here, Alex, is that the Republicans had a very successful convention, and Trump really crystallized the stakes in this election. These reporters saying it's too dark. These are apocalyptic times. Dark times call for dark rhetoric. We have dark choices, stark choices, I should say. So I feel very good. I think Trump will be a couple points ahead. Let's move to the most important point here. Yes, we are going to have to be vigilant about voter fraud. I read a terrific study by Richard Charnon, who's a retired mathematician, a brilliant guy, a liberal, by the way.
Stay there. I'm going to give you the floor when we come back. What is the final legs of the race? What are the dirty tricks? How do we counter fraud? They've stolen it from Sanders. Will the Sanders people try to stand up for the vote in America? Or are we bad to even say there was ever even voting? All right, Roger's got to jump in a cab and get over to a very important meeting. He's got to go in like 5-6 minutes. I want to give him the floor as best I can. Roger. Obviously, we know that the polls show Trump's ahead. I think this is going to be a boring fest that we're going to see with Hillary. Do you think that some of the Bernie folks will do the right thing for the voters' rights in this country? Do you think they'll be able to suppress that? And then let's shift gears into Trump winning and what they're going to try to do to steal it. How do we counter that?
Well, let's take them one by one. One of the great disappointments here is that Bernie Sanders himself turns out to be a fraud. All this talk about progressive values and principles turns out to be nothing. He's signed on to the Wall Street candidate. If I were a Sanders supporter, I would be furious twofold. One, he got cheated out of the nomination. We now know that definitively based on these WikiLeaks documents.
Yeah, undoubted. That is so bombshell.
But the media is too hung up on the alleged plagiarism by Melania Trump. And then secondarily,
I've got to interrupt. How did you know when it first happened in Chicago, you said unequivocally these are Hillary operatives, this is White House run, not just Hillary. Now it's all come out that it was directed by the Democratic Party and they had people dressed up like Sanders. How did you know that?
I have sources, Alex.
Sorry, go ahead. You just go ahead.
I do want to tell you about a huge piece of news here. Malik Obama, Barack Obama's brother, has endorsed Donald Trump.
That's right.
Front page of the New York Post today, blockbuster story. Malik was in New York last week.